Hello, beautiful stars. Thanks so much for tuning in. I am Astar, and welcome to Source Light Star. Welcome to another episode of The Wizard's Cabinet. And in today's episode, we are going to be talking about karma and timelines. So right after I recorded the first kind of these videos, Spirit was like, "Ooh, we like The Wizard's Cabinet, so we should do some more of that." And I was like, okay, yeah, let's go. And right after I recorded the first video, if you haven't watched that one, it's called How to Heal Deep Trauma. So right after that, I had another vision, and it was super clear that it's meant to be shared in a similar format of video like this. So this is what came out, and today again we are talking about the whole process of how timelines work and how this relates to karma. And again, I don't claim to have the ultimate answer of what karma is, because karma is like a super complex story. It's like really intricate, and I personally believe we will probably never really be able to understand 100% how karma works if we are still in this realm. Like later on, maybe from a different perspective or from a different realm, we might be able to understand the whole process, but from this perspective, we can only just understand part of the truth. And that's the intention of this video. I'm sharing the part of my truth about timelines and karma in order to help us get a little bit closer to the ultimate truth, which might probably never be able, we might never be able to define the ultimate truth of karma and timelines. Anyway, let's get into explain the beautiful image. And I know it looks like a little bit of chaos, but I'm gonna walk you through the symbols and what it means. So basically, the lines that you are seeing here, all these vertical lines, Spirit is really telling me that these are timelines. So every time we make a choice, we are basically stepping onto a specific timeline. And it's very beautiful because here, this line here, I was shown with like two spheres on each side. And what these two spheres represent, it's basically yes or no, or this or that, or left or right. Because basically as human beings, what we can do is inhaling or exhaling, saying yes or no, going left or right, doing this or that, acting in alignment with our heart or acting out of alignment with our heart. And it is really talking about this duality. And depending on which choices we choose to make, whether to go here or there, this depends which timeline we are on. And then again, depending on how many times we say yes, depending on how many times we are acting in alignment with Spirit, that changes the frequency and the timeline we are on. Because I was really shown these timelines not really as like a line, but it was more like a crystal. So this part here is like the face of a crystal, and it switches, and it's almost like this intricate web of strings. Like I was being shown strings and this woven web of something that looked like a crystal. And then again, wherever we are on this line, so wherever we are in our life, basically whenever we say yes or no to something, this is then shifting the timelines we are on, and basically almost shifting a kaleidoscope. That's what I'm being shown, like the kaleidoscope, when we shift it and twist it, depending on where we go or where we look, this is then creating or shifting the whole image. Oh yeah, and by the way, I forgot to introduce our beautiful kitty cat here. She's going to be our spiritual guardian and holding the space for this video. I wanted to mention her and include her because she's here. Exactly, so coming back to this image here. And then again, depending on how many choices we make, acting in alignment with our heart, this is then what influences where we are on. But the reason why I'm coming up with this image, and the main message that Spirit wants to share with us today, is that no matter which choices we make in life, no matter how many times we say no to spirit and yes to the physical, no matter how much we think we are walking away from our path, no matter how far away from the center we are, we can never completely go away from the center. So we can never not follow our soul's purpose, even if it might look like we are very far here. So, for example, let's say, if I say no to spirit all the time, and I say spirit doesn't exist, spirituality is bullshit, and blah blah, and if I say no, no, no all the time, then what happens is I might go away from the center and move towards the no. But the no in this case is represented by the below. And the below is chaos. That's like darkness. That's like also illusion. It came through like the moon. So whenever we are almost caught up in illusion, whenever we are super far away from spirit and we deny almost our existence, then we are here in the realms of the darkness, because again we say no to spirit and no to our essence basically. But then it is not possible for us to completely detach from the center. This straight line here, this is our heart. This is basically the jet pillar, the axis mundi. This is also it's our heart basically. It's the connection between our heart and the whole universe, and here it appears as a line, but it is actually just a dot. It is just the dot that then appears like a line, like it's the center that appears to have an experience, and that experience is the up and down of the serpent, the up and down of life force energy. So again, the straight line, that's our core, that's our heart, and the serpent here is the life force energy that changes the timelines like a kaleidoscope depending on which choices we take. Yes or no, this or that, left or right, basically. But then again, no matter how many choices we take in this direction or in that direction, no matter how far out we might think we are, we will never be able to completely let go of our heart, because that's our truth, that's our essence, that's almost like the center that keeps us straight in alignment. This is also the Shushumna Nadi, like the central channel that flows through our spine ethereally, like it's an ethereal, energetic, it's like an energetic pole almost. And that's why, even if we say people that are really caught up in the illusion, or people we might define as evil, or the ones who are creating havoc and creating like a lot of chaos and a lot of like not nice things, these are still part of Source Creator. And all the demons and all the evil entities and all of these things, they are still part of Source. What these beings do, or these evil people or evil spirits, and I do this with my fingers, it's like evil doesn't really exist. Like, I personally feel there is no active force that creates evil. This is only a distortion of spirit, I feel, the way we look at it. So if we say that demons are real and they are an evil force which creates active chaos, that's basically a distortion of spirit, because spirit is love. Spirit is neutral. Spirit is pristine, and it's not good or bad. It's not creating active chaos just for the sake of creating chaos. It is all spirit. It is all neutral. But depending on how we see it, this is then changing the frequency. This is then changing how spirit then also behaves. And that's why, even if we might encounter an energy that we define as like a demon or something evil, it is still part of Source. But it is only a spirit that has made many, many choices of going away from the true nature. Many, many choices, like they're so far out that they have almost forgotten that they were spirits. For example, demons or lower vibrational energies, it's just spirit that has forgotten of the nature of love. And that's why we might perceive the actions of demons or lower vibrational entities as evil. But it is not, because good and evil is just two sides of the same coin. Above and below is also just two sides of the same coin. But the point in the middle, the straight line in the middle, that's neutral, that's love. And that is our nature basically, like we are this line here. And that also means it doesn't matter how many choices we make in either direction, it doesn't change anything about the nature of who we are. And that's why we can go away from spirit, we can go towards spirit and then away from spirit again, then towards spirit, but still, no matter what we do in our life, none of that changes who we are at our core. And that's why the message is also kind of like, it's about detaching ourselves a little bit from whatever goes on this line here, whatever is happening here, and knowing that we are basically the center all the time. And also knowing that, exactly, so this line here, we have to think like the progression of this spiral is basically the progression of this wave is progressing along this spiral here. And the thing is, the starting point here and the end point here, it's always the center. Because we have said that this line is basically a representation of the center, but in time, in experience, in the experience of space-time. So the universe of space-time allows us to go from A to B, so that we can have an experience. But this is the illusion of separation, because we are always the core at all times. So that's why even if we start here from the center and we progress along the spiral, then if we are here, this is still the center. Then technically I would have to create another spiral here, because it doesn't matter where we go, doesn't matter which choice we take, we are always the core that is pristine, and that is our heart. And it's starting to rain, it's really beautiful. Like I love how spirit also responds. So since it's starting to rain, I'm now intuitively feeling to tune into the energy of the above. And yes, they have really shown me that basically the sun and the moon, the above and the below, this is where this wave moves. Because it's never only light and it's never only darkness. And that's why it has to go with this wave in up and down. And that's why every choice we make, there is never only one answer. So we can never say if it's really good or really bad. So even if we might think, for example, serving others is something good, maybe in the long run it's not something good, because we might then maybe not focus on our own needs. And then in the long run, if we only serve or if we are only altruistic or selfless, it's also not something good. Whereas if we think of it being selfless, we might say it's something good. But Spirit is wanting to let us know with this, it's not as black as white as we think. It's not left or right, good or bad, up and down, above and below. It's everything together and all intricate and all interwoven, and even much more than we are never able to understand. Because all of this obviously happens energetically. All of this happens in the astral realm, like it's an energetic process. And I try to visualize this energetic process to the best of my ability. But even my human words and the human writing or painting or sketching is even just an attempt to get a little bit closer to what the whole truth of karma and timelines really is. But what we are doing actually is understanding it a little bit better, getting a little bit closer to the truth. But again, the main thing is that it doesn't matter what we do in life, it doesn't matter which path we take in life. It's not possible to not follow our soul's purpose. And actually, when the vision came through, Spirit really showed me this process of the center being here, the center being the eye of consciousness, the witness. That's actually our center. The center is the entity, the consciousness that is witnessing. this here, this is the judgment. This is the senses. This is like, do I like it or do I not like it? Is this good or is this bad? How do I feel about it? How do I think about it? All of this, that's then secondary. That's basically, yeah, the life force energy. But this one here, the core stays same all the time. The core doesn't change. And that's why, again, whenever we feel caught up in the dramas of life, whenever we feel I'm not following my soul's purpose, or I'm so far here, or I'm so far there, even if it seems like we are far, or walking away from our truth, or not following our purpose, we actually are. Because this is who we are. Even if universe or life appears as the chaos of the up and down. And that's why whenever we feel lost, or whenever we don't know what to do or how to move forward, or maybe even how to shift timelines, the only thing we can do is literally tuning into our heart, tuning into our core and the truth. And then from there, we actually see the bigger picture. And we understand that even if I'm all the way down here or all the way up here, it doesn't say anything about my nature. And it's also not defining my nature. Because it doesn't matter how far we have progressed on our journey, doesn't matter how spiritual or enlightened we think that we are at the beginning of the journey at all times, or we are at the end of the journey at all times. It's both. So we don't have anything to strive for. There is nothing to gain, nothing to reach, and also nothing to lose. So that's why the main message here is to bring in like light-hearted flow, to approach life a little bit easier, in an easier way, because again, literally there is nowhere to go. Like, where do we want to go if we are always in the center? What do we want to reach if everything we want to reach is already here? And then the more we strive outwards, the more we strive towards doing something, actually the more far away we go from our nature. And that's why sometimes inactivity and just tuning within and listening to our heart is the most productive thing we can do. But if we refuse to listen to our heart and to tune within, then we might then really look at the physical and try to do everything possible, and this is almost like scratching the surface, or like only working on a very surface level. Whereas maybe the resolution of what we are looking for lies in the core, and understanding that we are here already. And then another thing that came through, that when this core, this witness is moving, and I say moving like it appears to move from A to B, because again we have seen that this line is actually just a dot. So when this wave, this sine wave of vibration is moving, and we as the witness, as the center of the pillar, are witnessing it, then yeah, we can move in one side or move in the other side. We can then, depending on the choices we make, again move a little bit away from our soul's purpose or towards our soul's purpose, but the purpose will be fulfilled anyway. So again, it's this message of we cannot avoid our soul's mission. And even if we think we are not following our soul's mission, we are still following our soul's mission. Because it's not possible not to follow our soul's mission, even if it doesn't feel that way. Because this is how the universe functions. Like, it needs us to fulfill our soul's purpose. Because otherwise the whole universe doesn't function, because maybe something is missing. Again, a similar message came through in the other video. It's this notion of a cogweb. If I am not fulfilling my soul's purpose, then my cogweb is missing in the whole machinery of the universe, and then the whole universe doesn't work properly. Because if here something is missing, then all other parts are also not working. And that's why it's, in my opinion, not possible not to follow our soul's mission or to fulfill our purpose in a way. But obviously, on the way there, we can move into different timelines. Because, for example, let's say I have chosen to ignore my calling, and I say no all the time, and therefore moving away from the center, because I say spirit doesn't exist, spiritual purpose, all of that is BS, blah blah. If I say all of that, then I might be here somewhere, but then once I'm here, the universe will then bring in a crisis or an illness or anything, whatever, to then bring us back again to the center. But then, if from the beginning on I say yes all the time instead of saying no, then me experiencing the crisis or the illness is not necessary. So yes, there is a timeline where I experience pain, and there is a timeline where I follow my soul's purpose from early on. But it doesn't matter which one of the two I experience, in the end of the day, it will always come back to me fulfilling the soul's purpose. And that's why suffering on some level is our choice. Because the Buddhists say that suffering is a choice, and I also never understood how that works, because literally it doesn't seem like a choice when we are in pain or when we are always repeating the same cycles. But it is a choice in a sense of we could also choose a different path. We could also choose a different way of approaching things and still follow our soul's mission. So it doesn't really necessarily mean that we have to purge and suffer for all our lifetime in order to progress spiritually. There are always different timelines and different ways of getting there. And we choose which one to go. And then obviously with karma, sometimes we are needing to go into a crisis because sometimes there is no other way. But then it is not really a human thing, it's like a higher self thing. So even if we might think we have the choice, sometimes it's the higher self influencing our choices, and that's why I say it's a complex thing, because we can never say this is the truth. Because yes, this might be the truth from our perspective, but then if we look at it from a different perspective, an elevated perspective, the story changes again. It's again this notion of the kaleidoscope, like if we look at it from one time, then what we see is the truth. But as soon as we switch it even just a little bit, the same time we look inside of it, it's completely different. So it's really this, there is also a message of understanding the fleetingness of things also. And when we talk about the process of switching to the highest timeline, the highest timeline is actually the center point. The highest timeline is us being in the center. This is the middle path. This is like the golden path of not too much towards one side and not too much towards the other side. Because whenever there is an extreme towards either of the two sides, if we are too materialistic or too spiritual, then it is unbalanced. And whenever again we are in an extreme, something is going to happen here or here in order to bring the balance back. But if from the beginning we say, my intention is to operate from that level here, my intention is to stay as balanced as possible, and really acting with that and allowing spirit to guide our actions also, because very often whichever choice we make, if we allow spirit to choose, then we will always be on the highest timeline. But then again, if we don't trust spirit and if we do it the ego way, then we might end up all the way here, and then spirit has to bring in a crisis in order to bring ourselves back to the heart again. But then again, we can avoid the crisis and the pain by quieting down the ego and following the voice of spirit, even if it doesn't make sense. And that's why the most important thing is to follow our heart and follow the calling of our soul, even before it makes sense with our mind or with the ego. And this is how we can make sure to stay in the highest timeline, because it's also this test of trust and patience, and there are again so many factors that are flowing into the whole story. But the main thing that we want to take away from this video is basically knowing that we are the center at all times. Doesn't matter how far the spiral goes, the center will always be the center. And this is actually this line here. From A to B, this line here, from A to B, it's always the center. Because when I'm here, then the spiral is spiraling again. Like every soul, every star is the center of the universe to itself. So every present moment, every being that is experiencing and witnessing the present moment, that's the center of the universe to itself. And that's why every worm is the center of the universe. Every human is the center of the universe, because the center of the universe is basically the core, the atom, the witnessing consciousness, the soul, the divine, the absolute. And that is the core, that is our heart. And then again, everything that happens in creation and in the spiral is like a projection of that core. Or it's like a movie that the core is projecting out on a screen, and this is the screen that we are seeing. This is the experience that we are experiencing with all these different timelines. And by the way, these timelines to get from A to B, this doesn't need to happen all in one lifetime. And that's why we have reincarnations, because if, let's say, our goal is to get from A to B, but then again we have seen there is no goal to reach, but let's say if in this lifetime I have to go from A to B, then if I won't make it in this lifetime, then I'm just going to be reincarnated with the same mission, and it just continues. And that's why karma, or our soul's mission, is actually also something that happens on like a vaster period. Like our soul's mission is multiple lifetimes. It's not just one lifetime or timeline. Yeah, it's a bit confusing, because if, let's say, in this lifetime it's my purpose to be a famous actor, then in a previous lifetime I have already made the preparations and I have already gained the expertise that was necessary for me to then in this lifetime be a great actor. Because if I'm inherently born with this potential or with a great skill to be an actor, then this is something that is inherently already within. So everything that inherently comes to us, if we are super good at whatever, chess, or if we're super good at something, or if we have an inherent wisdom about something, then this started in a previous lifetime. But it's again this mission that is ranging across multiple timelines, because spirit is not really, it's not so important about which lifetime we are in. Spirit is more so looking at getting from A to B, even though it's like, it's like a game. That's why we have to take things a little bit lightly. And that's why, for example, if we are going through really deep challenges, and let's say and I have to say a trigger warning, let's say if you're in so much pain that you decide to end your life, even if we might think that ending our life is going to bring resolution or is going to liberate us, we are then immediately going to the next timeline, where we then still have to release the karma or fulfill the mission. So we cannot really escape, like death is not an escape. And if we have made an agreement to fulfill a soul's purpose or to heal specific trauma or release karma, it will be done no matter what. So we cannot run away. We can, no matter what we do in our life, no matter which choice we take, we cannot not follow our soul's purpose, because we need to do it. There is no other way to get around it, basically. And that's why it's easy, because since there is no way to get around it, it's actually our most natural way of being. Because if it's so inherently important for us to follow our soul's mission, and if it's not even possible to step away from it or to avoid it, then we can just live life in a much easier way, without having to force to make things happen here, or without having to meditate all the time and be in a cave for the whole lifetime. Like, we don't have to put in excessive effort. We don't have to go into either one direction excessively, because again, no extreme is good. And that's why if we have a light-hearted approach, if we approach our life in an easy way, always being as centered as possible and always inviting in the highest perspective of spirit, then life can be pleasant, and then we can be in this baseline here where it is much more grounded and it is much more, yeah, it's less extreme. It's less this up and down and these emotional roller coasters, and it's like, yes, maybe part of our life it's important to be in this up and down, but basically what we want to have is have a grounded, centered experience of life where we feel peaceful and connected and in flow. And then the spiral literally just takes over. Then the flow just takes over and literally the magic happens through us. But whenever there is resistances or blockages based on the choices that we made, Spirit has to work its way around these blockages, but they have to come to the surface. So for example, even if we feel resistance towards something, it is still great. We are still following our soul's mission. Or if we, yeah, it is really about honoring the pace of our soul and knowing that we are following our soul's mission at all times, and it's not even possible to not follow it. Can I bring you here? Can I put you here? I want to put you here. Come. So we have our little mascot here. Maybe she's enjoying. Yes. Oh, hello. Let's send some love to the cat. And I pretty much think that's about it. I think I've said everything. Did we say everything? Yes? Oh my God, hello. I think the cat says we said everything, so we'll finish it there. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and also please let me know if you have any other questions. I will make sure to answer them in the next few videos. And I'm also offering personal readings and healing sessions. So if you feel the call to collaborate and work together, we can definitely do so. You can find all the information on my website. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for tuning in again. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye, much love.